Добрий вечір, шановні пані і панове. Мене звати Валерій Пекар, і мені випала честь бути модератором сьогоднішнього заходу, назва якого, як ви розумієте, українською мовою не перекладається. Отже, що це таке і навіщо? Сьогодні в суспільстві є відчуття, що завершився певний етап. Я думаю, що у багатьох із вас є відчуття, що завершився певний етап. Може, підніміть руки, у кого є таке відчуття? У більшості, дякую. Завершився певний етап, і це означає, що треба підвести підсумки і зробити висновки. Які уроки можна з того винести? Загалом, сьогодні весь дискурс стосовно реформ відбувається в такій поганій дихотомії зрада або перемога. Або все погано і ми програли, або все добре і ми багато що зробили. Ця дихотомія є для нас некорисною, тому що ми не можемо з неї винести уроків. І тому група приватних осіб придумала і запропонувала вам цей захід для того, щоб подивитися на 3 роки, на підсумки цих 3 років з іншої точки зору. Що вдалося і не вдалося, ми знаємо дуже добре. Чому не вдалося те, що не вдалося? Які причини наших невдач? Які особисті уроки, розчарування і висновки можна зробити? І, звичайно, що таку роботу над помилками треба робити в дуже специфічній аудиторії. Сьогоднішня аудиторія є дуже специфічною. Сьогоднішні спікери є дуже специфічною. І сьогоднішні учасники заходу є саме такими. Наші сьогоднішні спікери – це люди, які не побоялися подивитися на свій власний досвід і поділитися цим власним досвідом, поділитися власними розчаруваннями, власними тривогами, власними висновками з публікою. Учасники сьогоднішнього заходу – це люди, які дотичні до реформ тим або іншим чином. В залі дуже багато людей, які після Майдану пішли на державну службу. Хтось залишається дотепер, хтось вже пішов. В залі дуже багато людей, які залишилися в громадянському суспільстві і продовжили працювати як радники, як члени робочих груп і task forces для того, щоб втілювати ці реформи. Дуже багато підприємців, які самі і силами своїх команд підтримували реформи, розробляли їх, втілювали. В залі люди, які дотичні особисто до того, що відбувалося ці 3 роки. І перед вами будуть виступати люди, які також дотичні особисто до того, що відбувалося останні 3 роки. Тому сьогодні ми не будемо говорити ні про зраду, ні про перемогу, а будемо говорити про висновки, уроки і плани на майбутнє. Сьогодні у нас заборонено говорити про зраду, сьогодні у нас заборонено говорити про перемогу, і сьогодні у нас заборонено говорити про політику. Тому що цей захід не про політику, цей захід про інституційні реформи. І декілька зобов'язань моїх як модератора, дуже простих. По-перше, мені надзвичайно приємно подякувати тим, завдяки кому цей захід став можливим, за фінансову, організаційну і технічну підтримку посольству Її Величності, компанію Dragon Capital, громадянській платформі «Нова країна» за організаційну підтримку і найкращій технічній команді TEDx Київ незалежного заходу з поширення ідей. Друге просте зобов'язання як модератора вам всім зрозуміло, що я і прошу вас зробити просто зараз. І третє просте моє зобов'язання як модератора полягає в тому, що наш захід з одного боку закритий для преси. Тут немає жодних камер, окрім нашої власної камери, яка запише і підготує потім для тих, хто сюди не потрапив. Але тут дуже багато журналістів, тут дуже багато блогерів, і майже кожен з вас і кожна з вас так чи інакше дотичні до соціальних мереж і популярні там. Тому, якщо ви захочете щось писати в Фейсбуці, Твіттері або в інших соціальних мережах, ми просимо вас використовувати такий хештег ReformsNight для того, щоб потім все це можна було знайти і підібрати. Всі сьогоднішні виступи після того будуть викладені на YouTube, і ми ще раз їх передивимося. Але ми їх передивимося після ретельного редагування для того, щоб наші сьогоднішні спікери могли бути відвертими. Тому, по суті, це захід закритий. І наш захід, що мені дуже приємно, сьогодні у нас дуже велика честь вітати на нашому заході низку високих дипломатичних представників. І я прошу вас привітати надзвичайного уповноваженого посла Сполучених Штатів Америки, пані Марію Йованович.
Good evening. You know, a couple of weeks ago when I received the invitation to this event, I have to admit I was a little taken aback. As an ambassador, I don't think I've ever been invited to anything quite like this before, or with such a title that I can't even say. But in all sincerity, what an honor it is to be with you here tonight. And to start, I'd like to share something about the United States. Last week, as many of you know, we celebrated Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving holds a special place in the hearts of all Americans because it is a holiday that we can all relate to, no matter your race, your religion, your ethnic background, and regardless of whether you arrived in the United States yesterday or 396 years ago. Thanksgiving is a holiday for all Americans. The first Thanksgiving was celebrated in 1621, a year after the Pilgrims arrived in what is now Massachusetts. They had survived an absolutely brutal winter and had nearly all died of terrible diseases and the very, very harsh climate. But the following autumn, after finally reaping a bountiful harvest, they sat down to give thanks. The Pilgrims fled to America so that they could worship freely. Freedom of religion was the very first freedom of the new land, and it led to many others. But the Pilgrims had to sacrifice so that we today could benefit in the United States. And today, immigrants come to the United States for many reasons: for freedom of worship, freedom of speech and expression, freedom to love whom they choose, freedom to pursue their dreams, including economic dreams. And like the very first immigrants in 1620, each year we pause to give thanks for all that we have and for those who made it possible. So I would like to pause right now and give thanks for all of you. You came together 3 years ago, last week, almost on the same day as Thanksgiving, and you started a movement for dignity, for accountability, for transparency, and for the freedoms all of us hold dear. And like the Pilgrims, you paid for that dream with the sacrifices that you made and that you continue to make. I think of the loss of the Heavenly Hundred and the volunteers and soldiers on the front line, some of whom are paying in blood even as we speak today. I know that when you think of those sacrifices, and when you look at your own innocent children, you curse the slowness of the democratic process, and you curse the old Ukraine that is holding back swift change. And I'm here to tell you that is totally normal. I'm here to remind you that all of you have accomplished amazing things in the last 3 years. And when you stop to think about it, 3 years is no time in the span of a nation. So let's think about where the United States was 25 years into its independence. Aaron Burr was about to kill Alexander Hamilton in a duel. So that would be a sitting vice president solves a grudge by shooting the former Secretary of the Treasurer. You cannot make this up. So you know, you need to take the long perspective. We all do. And I know that nobody wants to hear that it takes a long time to build a democracy, but it does. And like all human institutions, it is imperfect, and it can be pretty complicated in a place like the United States or Ukraine, but that doesn't mean it isn't worth fighting for. As so often happens, President Obama said it best when he said, "Progress follows a winding path, sometimes forward, sometimes back, but as long as we retain our faith in democracy, as long as we retain our faith in the people, as long as we don't waver from those central principles that ensure a lively, open debate, then our future will be okay, because it remains the most effective form of government ever devised by man." Ukraine's path over the past 25 years has been a winding one. There have been some sizable detours and a few big potholes in the road, but you're on the right path now. And slowly, surely, you are getting there. Just one example, more than 120,000 civil servants declared their assets in October. I, for one, didn't think it was going to happen, but it did. And by all accounts, this was a success. The Ukrainian public learned exactly how wealthy many people are. And while the media and civil society watchdogs are doing a great job of sifting through some of the conflicts of interest exposed, it is important that the shock of the disclosures themselves be just the beginning of the process. Public servants, whether they did this as public servants or as businessmen, need to be held accountable for ill-gotten gains, whether they took from the state or from its citizens. Many of the people in this room, many of you, are Ukraine's strongest advocates for justice and transparency, and I urge you to keep pushing for an improved rule of law that will punish corrupt actors for their behavior. But you didn't start this movement just to punish the guilty, as important as a message of a few convictions would send. You started the movement to build a country, to create a government for the people, by the people, one that provides services and improves lives. Think about that. Think about what you've accomplished. And take a bow. There have been many accomplishments over the last 3 years, although we all know that much more must be done. And it will be done because of people like you. You are the reason that I'm hopeful about Ukraine's future. Many of you know that I was here before. I left in 2004, and the expectations of the Ukrainian people during that period of time have changed. Ukrainians now expect their government to be transparent and accountable, and they are willing to fight for it. Now truly is the time for Ukraine to decide its future place in the world, and more importantly, to demonstrate to its own people that it is a country worth fighting for. So as you continue down that winding road to a more perfect democracy, to a shared prosperity, to a nation whole, free, and at peace, in a Europe whole, free, and at peace, know that you can do it. Know that you have a true partner in the United States. Tonight's program, as we heard in the introduction, is an opportunity for self-reflection and analysis, to think about mistakes made and how to move forward. But I wanted to take a moment to reflect on the progress made, and to remind that progress is always slow, and building a nation is not for the faint of heart. Think about the arc of history, the pilgrims setting off in small boats for the New World, and how 400 years later, Americans remember them today. And in the case of Ukraine, remember the cold, hard months on the Maidan, and the longer, for those of you in government and in civil society, lonelier and sometimes even harder slog over the last 3 years. Know that you too are making history, and that future generations of Ukrainians will remember your vision and your courage in building the new Ukraine. Thank you. Дякую. Slava Ukraini.
Фейсбук завжди нагадує про події, які сталися декілька років тому в цей самий день. І в цей самий день, 28 листопада 2013 року, була дуже цікава подія. На Майдані залишалося десь на той момент ввечері 3,5 тисячі людей. І вони робили дуже незвичну річ. Вони співали гімн Європейського Союзу «Оду до радості» українською мовою. 3,5 тисячі людей. Нічого ще не було, ми не знали, на що ми здатні, ми не знали, що буде далі. Це було фактично єдине, що ми могли тоді зробити для того, щоб піти з Майдану, а вже було зрозуміло в останніх числах листопада, що Майдан довго не протриває, декілька днів залишилося, щоб ми пішли з гордо піднятою головою. Ми співали гімн Європейського Союзу. І зараз, в цей самий день, 3 роки по тому, я неймовірно щасливий привітати тут надзвичайного повноважного посла, представника Європейського Союзу в Україні, пана Хьюго Мінгареллі.
Thanks. So I wanted to escape, but too late. Well, in fact, when I got the invitation a few weeks ago, and when I saw the list of participants, I said immediately I have to go to learn about what I have to do in Ukraine in the next few years. I'm not joking. As you know, the EU has two main objectives in this country. The first one is to help Ukraine preserve its sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity. And the second one is to help this country become an open and democratic society with some kind of social market economy. And it's clear that we cannot reach any of our objectives if we are not able to work hand in hand with the state apparatus, the political leadership, the civil society, all those who have a stake in the transformation of the country. And therefore, I cannot perform my daily job if I am not in constant contact with those like you who know the country far better than I do, who understand what the political leadership is doing, who understand the constraints about the political leadership, who understand well as well all those who have a vested interest to derail the reform process, and who can tell us basically in which direction we should push the political leadership and all those who have an interest and an influence in the transformation of this country. I have been working over the last 25 years with all EU neighbors, the Balkan countries, the countries of Eastern Europe and the South Caucasus, the countries of the Middle East and North Africa. And I can say, without any hesitation, that what I have seen in this country over the last 2 years is far better in terms of democratic and economic transition than what I have seen in any other EU neighboring country. And if you have an interest, I am ready to elaborate on that. So there is no doubt at all for me that the political leadership in Ukraine over the last 2 years has made a tremendous effort to push the country in the right direction, in the direction of an open society and a social market economy. And these obviously give us a lot of hope. I will not tell you all what has been achieved over the last 2 years in the field of rule of law, judiciary, civil society strengthening, macro-financial stabilization, because some of you have been the actors of the change, and you know all this far better than I do. At the same time, it's true as well that every time we see 2 steps forward, we see 1 step backward. every time we see a meaningful reform, we are immediately informed and warned about the fact that some people in the Rada or elsewhere are trying their best to derail the reform process. And very often, obviously, we would like to see a pace of the reform process a bit different. We find the reform process a bit too slow. And I have to say that all this does not come as a surprise for somebody who has witnessed a transition process in other countries. Transition is never, ever a linear process. It goes like that. And here again, if in the discussion later on you want me to elaborate with example taken in the Balkans, in North Africa, or anywhere else, or in Central Europe, by the way, I am ready to elaborate on that. So the fact that in this country, the transition, the transformation is not always as quick as we would like. That every time the political leadership initiates a reform, there are forces, powerful forces, that try to derail the process. All this, once again, should not come as a surprise to anybody. The contrary would be a surprise. It would be a big surprise if in a country like Ukraine, with the past of this country, basically a country which for 23 years has been a cash machine for around 10 people, it would be a surprise if overnight, in 2 years' time, the reform process would not face any obstacle, any difficulty. It's clear that we are in a country where the forces of change who are trying their best to reform the country are on a daily basis facing forces who want to keep the status quo. And we, in the EU, have to try our best to be on the side of the forces of change. And here, in order to take the right position, in order to understand what is going on in this struggle, we need your advice. Without you, we will not be able to identify those who are trying to transform Ukraine into an open and democratic society, and we would not be ready and able to identify the forces who, to defend their vested interests, try to block the transition process. So, for this reason, we have to maintain a daily contact with the civil society, with those who have had political responsibilities and left for various reasons, generally very good reasons. So for us, your advice is of the essence. I just want to conclude in saying that Ukraine can count and rely on the EU. We will try our best to support the transformation of this country. We will try our best to back and support the government who is trying to transform this country, despite the many obstacles and difficulties facing the current political leadership. We continue to believe that the current political leadership is trying its best to move the country in the right direction, and we will try once again, being critical sometimes, to support what is going on in this country. So I hope that in listening those who will take the floor later on, I will learn on what I have to do in the next few weeks and months to better support the reform process in this country. Many thanks.